Hello everybody, Patrick Glenn Nichols, Muscle Car Barn Finds, and today I'm up here just outside of Portland, Oregon, a really cool Kansas City, Missouri 1970 Chevelle SS454 LS6 M22 with a 331 positive traction rear axle. Car has surfaced. I was hired to come up here and inspect this car. This car will be gaining my endorsement and will be entered into the National LS6 registry. The car does retain some of the original build sheet to the car. A portion of the build sheet is here. The home run part is here. You can see the VIN number and the LS6 and some of the important options. But we'll go around this car and I'll show you this car the way it is today here, June of 2023. A Fathom blue with white stripes, cowl induction, white vinyl top, white bucket seat car, tacking gauges, 4-speed, really cool car, an ultimate car. I know a lot of people really are fond of this Fathom blue, this color combo, especially with the white top and the stripes and the bucket seats. Just, I mean, it's the cat's meow. It's the top of the line for this type of car. So the car has had some changes. It was in a little fender bender here and there. So we had a grill changed and the rear bumper was changed. There are some parts here to the car that remain. A cool little tidbit. The car does have SS door panels. We can't prove that. They do look like they're unaltered. For a Kansas City, Missouri car, that would be kind of a unique thing. We all know that Baltimore, Maryland, and Flint, Michigan cars caught that mistake. So generally, Kansas City, Missouri, Van Nuys, and Atlanta, Georgia cars, they had the Malibu door panels. But this car does have SS's in the door panels, and they do have December of '69 dates on them for a January 2nd week of January. This car was built, again, at the Kansas City, Missouri assembly plant. So we'll start out with the fenders and the hood over here to the right, and then we'll go from there over to the body and then to some parts and then the interior and explain just about everything that we can. You can see the molding right off the bat here at the bottom of the headlights, which is definitely right on a January, second week of January 1970 Chevelle. So it does have the early molding. You can see the Malibu grill, which that has been changed, but some of the radiator support and all this is still original. You're gonna check where the hood pin cables are still in place, which those are definitely not the correct ones. And you can see that even the studs are they've also been replaced. We've got a radiator out of an automatic car here. So that's definitely not the original radiator, but we do have the correct 3-row radiator support because the car did not come with heavy duty cooling because it was a 331 ratio rear axle. So I'll give you some good shots. You can see that this has got the style fender where the square cut washer jar mounts directly to the fender back closer to the inner fender. Of course, we've been over this before. Kansas City, Missouri cars came with metal inner fenders. They were the only ones aside from Atlanta, Georgia. And then I think there have been a few instances where an Arlington, Texas car may have had one of each, plastic and metal, has been documented as well. We have the early style hood, which seems to be in pretty good shape. So this car will be restored here soon. Like I said, the owner hired me to come out here before he begins the thorough restoration process to have the car authenticated and endorsed. He had the gas tank removed. I was gonna check for just in the event on a Kansas City, Missouri car that maybe another build sheet was there, but you can see the original single gas line is still in place on this gas tank. It has never been removed until today or just a few days ago. So here in the back, I do believe the car has had a little fender bender back here, so the rear bumper had been changed. I think the keys are in the car. I may come around in a second and open the trunk for you as well. So check out the fender on this side. We have an authentic fender on this side, SS454, in really nice shape. And then on the other side, it has been changed. And I believe if you look closely, there's a remnants of the NOS GM decal is still there but you can see it does have no provisions, no drill holes for the SS454. So this fender was replaced. The other side was not. And again, we do have a Malibu grille, and at one point it had the front bumper changed as well, and they left the incorrect amber lenses, the Malibu lenses in there as well. So let's go down this side. Right off the bat, it does have VV code, which would be December of '69. So the rear, all of the glass in the car is original to the car, aside from the front windshield. Get you a few shots of the interior. The car did come with N33 tilt steering with a bucket seat 4-speed car, so that's really, really cool. And when I get to the other side, you will see the high 6500 red line tachometer. And of course, you can see the floorboard for the provisions for the brackets for the bucket seat, and the console still intact. Car was also a UM1 AM 8-track and tape, and you can see the provision for the correct dual rear speakers are still in place, and for the stereo front speakers are in place as well. Okay, so let's go around to the other side. Of course, which we've been over before, but I'll show you, this is the incorrect print for the vinyl roof. This has been changed. And of course, the seams are always, or almost always, put in the incorrect location. So let's go around to the firewall area and look at a few nice little components and characteristics of what we have up here. So we have a no power steering car, manual steering. You have the positive cable bracket for the positive cable still in place. The GB code on the front spring still there, which is also on the build sheet. A lot of you guys are aware of that, but I'll show you, see there. GB code on the spring, that's correct. That's also on the build sheet. And you can see a lot of times on a Kansas City, Missouri car, they will have the paint code behind the fender, just like we have right here. That's for code 28, Fathom Blue. So now we'll do the cowl tag, which we always do. So we have, let me get a focus, 13637, two-door hardtop, KAM, Kansas City, Missouri, 563869 body number, which I'll show you later on the partial build sheet that we do have. The 791 for the white bucket seat interior, 28 for Fathom Blue, 8 for white, vinyl roof, and then 01B for the second week of January 1970, and the L, infamous L, which, like I said, we've been over many times. Most everybody tends to want to agree that that signifies super sport equipment on a Kansas City, Missouri car. Check out the location of this cowl induction relay with the correct, I don't know if you can focus on the head marking on that bolt head, which is really neat, which is that bolt has never been changed. So there was a lot of manufacturers and different, suppliers for bolt heads, but that's one of the head markings that people look for, if you can make it out. Then we got the 756 windshield washer motor, 338th day of '69, first assembly line, first shift. And then we got the BB Master, focus on that, right there. And then again, with the firewall provisions, so we have tack engages, cowl induction, and accelerator cable. So you can see the provision for the cruise control is missing, the grom it is. You can see the provision for the gas pedal switch through the firewall for the cowl induction, and then up here on the top, you can see the provision is in the correct spot for the U14 tack engages, and then no other provisions. That is correct. You also see that this is also a true, correct 4-speed, which is the floor shift, tilt steering column. It's factory of the car. It's also designated on the build sheet. A lot of guys are always interested in how Kansas City, Missouri did this body shuts, or this kind of a undercoating type material around the heater box, and there you can see a good example of that on this car as well. There's another shot of the early single gas line on this January built Kansas City, Missouri LS6. So back up a little bit and just give you an overall view of what's here. Again, this is an authentic car, and it will be receiving my endorsement and into the National Registry as well. Really, really cool find. Really solid car as well. Not a lot of rust. The frame is really, really solid. Okay, so we'll run down the side here, and then I'll show you the gauges from this side. You can see the steering wheel is an aftermarket day 2, which is pretty cool. 6,500 RPM tachometer. I believe it's showing about, it's about 112,000 probably. I think that's a 12. And then you see the electric clock and the tag for the BN and box, I believe 65 for the dash harness, which would be for the tach and gauges. That's also still resides in the car as well. And the floorboard is really solid. So this car will be receiving a full-on restoration very soon. You can see the Fathom blue overspray. The car has been painted probably at least a couple times in its life, but it's never been changed from Fathom blue. And it's also been in the state of Washington, up here in the Pacific Northwest, its entire life. We have records of it all the way back to '77. And the individual that owns it now has owned it since 2014. And the person he bought it from had owned it since 1981. Really, really cool. But the engine and the transmission are no longer with the car. But the correct December 23rd, I believe, I will have those photos posted on my social media. CRV 331 rear axle posi traction still does reside with the car. Okay, so let's walk over here and do a little rundown of the seat belts, and then I'll show you some other things in the document. So the car did have deluxe seat belts, AK1. Give you a little quick view of those. In 37th week of 69, and with a 44th week. But you can see it's a bucket seat setup, fully intact out of this car for a 1970 Chevelle deluxe bucket seat car. Really, really neat. And here are the door panels. Excuse me. They still reside the S's, and they do not look like they've been altered. Pretty cool. And then you can see November 14th, 69, and then a December 1 stamp right there. So, excuse me, I'll leave it up to you to make up your mind on what kind of opinion you have on that. This was where the build sheet was. The build sheet was, of course, like a Kansas City, Missouri car normally is. It was hog-ringed into the rear seat. And I'll show you that now. Here's a copy of the actual piece. And now I guess you can make that out. Well, there's a glare, but that's the actual piece, the actual part that was the original authentic that was taken from the rear seat. And here's the photo, which will not have the glare, but you can see the LS6, the M22, the N33 tilt steering, the RV rear axle, the RV engine, the 791 bucket seat trim, 0116, and then the body number that I just showed you earlier on the tag, on the cowl tag of 563 869. And then the VIN sequence 153-811. And then 153-811, you can see the date, 1978, 1977. So it goes back that far in the state of Washington, and it's still up here in the state of Washington. So a really cool car, deluxe seat belts, again with the M22 and the tilt steering. See the GK for the instrument cluster, heavy duty battery, and then the KY hose, which is generally correct on a 3-row radiator. The car did not, of course, like I said, did not have the heavy duty cooling radiator. So the guy has a lot of extra parts here. Some of it was born on the car and some of it was not. So the car will be restored soon, and it will be entered into the registry, and I will be issuing my certificate as soon as I can have one drawn up and sent back. So I have a few that I need to have that are in the process as we speak to being drawn up. Let's take a few shots up in the trunk at this point. We don't want to leave that out. There you go. And you can see the caution, Posi traction rear axle decal, warning label, and then you can see where the jacking instructions once was. And we have the correct inspection marks. Pretty solid trunk floor. So this car is definitely worth the restoration. Like I've said many times, not every car is gonna have the original engine. Not every car is gonna have the original driveline, the total driveline. But there's a market for everything. And every LS6 that was born in LS6, it's my job to make sure what I endorse was actually born exactly what we say it is. You know, we can find a replacement engine or a replacement Muncie M22. As long as it's, you know, represented correctly, then that's the job that I am doing here is representing cars correctly and documenting what exactly the car is now and what the car was born as. This is definitely an LS6 Chevelle. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you need assistance with your 1970 Chevelle SS, whether it's a L34, L78, LS5, any super sport car, or even a 69 for that matter, this is what I do. I travel around. Like I said before, I've been to all 50 states. This is what I do. I make a permanent record, video record. I don't do reports. I don't like reports. A lot of times they get lost, they get altered, something happens to those. When this video is published, it's a permanent record of what this car looked like in June of 2023. A pretty good rundown of what is here and what the car will look like. So 10, 15 years from now, you will see really a good idea of what the person started with and where where the car ended up. So I really appreciate all of my followers. I really appreciate all of your patience and a lot of your participation with my channel and your comments. I really appreciate all that. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Again, if you need to contact me at pnichols26@Yahoo or Patrick Glenn Nichols Muscle Car Barn Finds on Facebook and YouTube. If you need assistance authenticating your 1970 Chevelle, please get on my calendar because my endorsement is really serving into helping a lot of people sell their cars and helping a lot of cars is carrying a lot of weight in the marketplace. So I really am proud of that. So again, thank you very much. More videos on the way.